Hey, what is happening, YouTube? What's going on, guys? You have tuned into Rules for Rebels. Today is Tuesday, and we're back with another episode of Side Hustle Tuesdays. Today is episode 93 of our Side Hustling series. Today's episode, I think, is a fun one. Today's episode is about a physical therapist from California who found a way to solve a pain point that he had in his own life, a literal pain point, that being a pain in his neck. He found a way to turn this pain point into a product called the neck hammock, which alleviates neck pain and which went on to sell over 57,000 units. When I learned of today's side hustler Steve's product through doing this story, I recalled that I actually almost bought his product about a year back. One night, I fell asleep on the couch and woke up with a terrible crick in my neck, and after dealing with it for about a week without the pain going away, I actually stumbled upon his product online and almost purchased it, although I wound up going to the chiropractor instead. But I do recall coming across his product, and I thought that was kind of funny. Another interesting thing about today's side hustle story is a point about product selection. I think too often people find a product and then go about finding somebody to sell it to, as opposed to finding a group or a niche, figuring out what their pain point is, and then finding a product or solution that solves that pain point for them. I think Steve's story illustrates this perfectly. Having a background as a physical therapist, he knew a pain point his clients faced, and it's also one that he faced himself, and that problem, or that literal pain point, was neck pain. And he went on to create a product that alleviated that pain point. I think another thing about product selection this story illustrates is to look to what you know. Look to your day job, for example. My first business actually started within the same niche as my day job I was working. Because I worked the day job day in and day out, I got to know the industry and got to know a pain point of clients, and that's how I started my first business, and that's exactly what today's side hustler Steve did. He used his day job as a physical therapist to recognize a problem or a pain point, and he solved it. His skill set and knowledge base as a physical therapist gave him the insights on how to solve this issue. I think oftentimes, rather than saying, I like video games, so I want to create or sell a product in the video game space, look to your day job and look to things that you're involved with to find pain points and product ideas, because that's something that you have a very intimate knowledge of. Today's side hustler is Steve Suttle, and he's a physical therapist from Venice, California. By day, Steve works as a PT where he provides personalized and sports-focused exercises to help athletes before a competition to help reduce and possibly prevent injuries associated with intense physical activity. Steve's side hustle is the neck hammock. The neck hammock is a portable device that attaches to any door or railing and promises to provide medical-grade cervical traction. The product actually came from Steve's own needs. Steve played sports growing up and through high school and college and still continues to be active and work out, and like many of us, Steve deals with neck pain like the rest of us, and there wasn't much that he could do about it except see a chiropractor or physical therapist. Once he became a physical therapist himself, Steve learned more about physical traction, which is a gentle stretching of your neck to take pressure off the discs. It's something Steve had both done to him, as well as something that he offered to his clients. However, in order to get this sort of treatment, you had to visit a PT or a chiropractor and use a machine that cost upwards of $2,000. Then one day while working out, Steve tweaked his neck. He wanted to recreate that physical traction, so he found a long resistance band and wrapped it around a pole and then around his neck, and after a few minutes, his pain began to subside. Steve spent the next 2 years trying to go from concept to product. He had a couple of requirements for his product. First, it had to fit snugly and securely around your neck, but also be comfortable. He also wanted to keep it portable, or something that you could easily travel with or tuck away in your sock drawer when not in use. And lastly, it had to be affordable. Eventually, Steve came up with the perfect design and found a manufacturer to create it. In the same way Steve learned how to create and manufacture a product, he also learned a lot about business as well. About running an e-commerce store, about digital marketing, social media, and how retail sales work. And he must have learned it well, because since launching, Steve has sold over 57,000 units at an average price of $50 per unit. If you look at his website, you can see he's added a few extra products and also found a few creative ways to create product bundles. Steve said his biggest challenge has been imitators and counterfeiters, but through dealing with those issues, he's learned a lot about intellectual property and patents. As for the advice that Steve would offer to other entrepreneurs, first, he says that if you have a great idea, don't sit on it. Steve says the people who take action are the ones who become successful. Secondly, Steve recommends every entrepreneur take a basic accounting class He said the creative side of business is the fun part, but it's the accounting side that keeps you afloat. And lastly, Steve says he would encourage other entrepreneurs to network and make connections and friends. He says connections and friends are one of the most undervalued assets you can have in business. You never know when one of those relationships will pay dividends down the road. Steve set out to provide neck pain relief at an affordable price, and he's succeeded at doing that. Moving forward, Steve is currently in the process of improving and redesigning the neck hammock, and is also looking into creating other similar products that help people's bodies and health. Well, guys, that's today's episode of Side Hustle Tuesdays. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you were inspired. Hopefully this stirred up an idea in your head. And until next time, this is Rules for Rebels and Side Hustle Tuesdays, signing out.